Grounded, historical. A chariot wheel sinks into the mud at Kurukshetra. Thousands of soldiers stand across the field, waiting to begin a massive civil war. Prince Arjuna stands on the front lines, staring at an opposing army made up of his own cousins, teachers, and friends. He drops his bow. Arjuna is paralyzed. If he fights, he commits the moral horror of slaughtering his kin. If he refuses, he abandons his duty as a warrior, allowing the kingdom to collapse under the rule of those he knows are corrupt. His charioteer, Krishna, offers a rigorous ethical framework to break this paralysis. He introduces the concept of karma yoga, the discipline of action. The rule of karma yoga is straightforward but psychologically demanding. You must execute your specific duty, your dharma, with absolute precision. However, you must remain entirely detached from the results. You act, but you do not own the fruits of that action. But humans are wired to crave results. Achieving that level of detachment is impossible without first answering a deeper question. What is the true nature of reality, and who are you within it? To define reality, philosophers studied ancient Vedic scriptures. Inside these Sanskrit manuscripts, they found flat contradictions. The Beta Srutis state humans and God are entirely separate entities, but the Abeta Srutis claim the exact opposite, that human beings and the divine are one and the same. The attempt to resolve this scriptural tension birthed three rival schools of Vedanta. Each school created a different logical operating system for human existence, all determined by the distance they placed between man and God. The first school, Advaita, argues for absolute unity. Formulated by Adi Shankara, this philosophy anchors one end of the spectrum, where there is zero distance between the human and the divine. The premise is that the individual soul and the ultimate reality are identical. You are not a part of God. You are a manifestation of the whole. To explain why we feel separate, Advaita introduces Maya. Maya is the idea that the fragmented, physical world we see every day is an illusion, a veil masking the underlying unity. Imagine walking into a dark room and mistaking a coiled rope for a venomous snake. Your fear and racing heart are real, but the threat is a total misunderstanding of what is actually there. That is Maya. In this system, escaping suffering requires intellectual awakening. You wake up from the dream to realize you have always been the universe itself. Moving down the spectrum, Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita rejects the idea that the physical world is a fake illusion. He argues that the universe is quite literally the body of God. Under this body-soul framework, God operates as the central animating soul, while all conscious beings and material objects function as his physical limbs and organs. Here, matter is a real substance that simply transforms states. It is like clay being molded into a pot. The shape changes, but the clay remains a real, tangible entity. The individual is distinct from God, yet eternally, organically connected to him. Reality is not an illusion to escape. It is a divine body to serve. At the far end of the spectrum is Madhva's Dvaita. As this diagram shows, God, individual souls, and physical matter are eternally distinct. They never touch, and they never merge. This creates a strict power dynamic. God is the only independent reality. Every human soul and every piece of matter is an entirely dependent reality, relying on the Creator for its very existence. Because the distance between the human and the divine is absolute, Dvaita argues that intellectual realization is not enough to bridge the gap. That distance can only be crossed through profound devotion and complete surrender to a supreme creator who is entirely separate from yourself. These three schools determine the actual logic behind the Gita's instruction to act without attachment. Your motive for selfless action changes depending on your lens. Acting because you are one with everything, serving the cosmic body, or out of loving surrender to the Creator. This brings us back to the mud, to a paralyzed prince standing on a chariot, facing the hardest decision of his life. The Bhagavad Gita mandates a strict ethical baseline. Do your duty without selfish attachment. Yet it accommodates multiple logical frameworks to explain exactly why we exist to perform that duty. The text remains a primary reference for global ethics because it shows that a rigorous search for truth is inseparable from the actions we take in the real world.